In the next 45 minutes, we will be discussing the what and the why HDP Nexus in Yemen. Peace does not mean just to stop wars, but also to stop oppression and injustice. The HDP Nexus is not a trend, it's a necessity. In countries like Yemen, where conflict, development gaps, and humanitarian needs converge, we are called to connect the dots. As Jeffrey Sachs said, sustainable development is the pathway to the future we want for all. This session asks, what does that pathway look like in Yemen? What does it mean to build peace where there has been pain? What does it take to go beyond relief and into resilience? As we begin this session, I invite you to reflect on the words of Malala, who said, when the whole world is silent, even one voice becomes powerful. The HDP Nexus is that voice, a collective one. It is the voice of communities asking for coherence over chaos, for dignity over dependency, for progress over patchwork. In Yemen, the need to connect the dots between humanitarian response, long-term development, and sustainable peace is not just urgent, it's unavoidable. As one of our guiding thinkers, Jeffrey Sachs, reminds us, sustainable development is the pathway to the future we want for all. But in Yemen, what does the future look like? When seen through the eyes of displaced mothers, a frontline health workers, a youth activist, or a local official trying to bridge the broken system. For this session, I invite our panelists. We have two colleagues joining online. Again, sincere apologies for the shift in times. We have also our panelists in the room, and I will start one by one. Maarsella, may you join us, please? All of you can come to the stage. You don't have to stay in the back scenes. So we have Maarsella, Mr. Youssef, Dr. Amani, and Iman, Miss Iman. Thank you very much. Thank you. Merci. I will start by introducing our great, amazing, super awesome panelists. Romano Laasker is currently an expert in the humanitarian development peace HDP Nexus approach, working in UNDP Crisis Bureau in New York. Prior to joining UNDP, Romano has worked with OCHA in Geneva and in New York and in Bangkok with the Oil for Food program in Baghdad, as well as the Department of Political Affairs. Over his 20 years and more of experience, he has been in Department of Political Affairs, and he held and covered a variety of positions and functions, including the front office, support office of senior management desk support office, external relations, strategic planning, partnership policy, work around HDP Nexus, and financing in crisis. Romano is in UNDP Crisis Bureau managing the HDP Nexus Academy, a live and virtual training course amid the Foreign Common Understanding of Humanitarian Development Peace Nexus Initiative and Approach to ensure the bilateral and multilateral and non-governmental organization and the people that they employ have the knowledge, skills, and capacities to translate all of these approaches into action and impact. Second, we have our amazing colleague Maarsella. She's the head of cooperation from the German embassy to Yemen. She started her journey at the SDP parliamentary group on European policy. Then she served 18 years as a personal advisor to former German Chancellor Helmut Schmidt at the Federal Chancellery. Maarsella is a woman of many talents. She speaks German, English, some Dutch, Russian, Polish, French, and she's learning Arabic. Maarsella holds a degree in governance, international affairs, and a bachelor's degree in political science as well. We also welcome Ms. Iman Ismail. She's the regional representative of ECVA in the MENA region. Iman is the focal point for localization in ECVA, with over 20 years of experience in the humanitarian, government, and the private sector. In her current role, she supports ECVA's NGO members and local actors for localization and presenting a space for all of these organizations, including women-led organizations as well. We also have our dear colleagues Romano, who's joining us online. Romano is an expert in HDP Nexus, working in UNDP. He also holds a PhD holder in legal studies. He's working in the Peru and New York. Prior to joining UNDP, Romano worked in OCHA in Geneva, New York, and I just introduced Romano, didn't I? My bad. Good for you, Romano. You got introduced twice. Also, I have the pleasure to introduce Mr. Lوريك. He's the head of RCO in Yemen, in Kosovo, serving as a chief strategic planner and a senior advisor at the resident coordinator office. Mr. Lوريك holds many senior positions throughout his rich journey in the humanitarian and development sector. We also have our dear colleague, Mr. Yusuf Ahmed from CARE. Yusuf is a dedicated humanitarian/development professional with a focus on coordination and strategic communication in crisis settings as well. And last but not least, I cannot find. Can you introduce yourself very quickly, please? I'm sorry. Your mic is off, Dr. Amani. Sorry.
Dr. Amani, program advisor at ADO, and also Nexus Yemen Nexus Initiative advisor, nutrition and food science specialist. Thank you.
Thank you very much for introducing yourself, and sorry for missing your bio. The first question we will address to our dear colleague Romano. How can the HDP Nexus improve efficiency, sustainability, and resilience in the Yemen response?
Thank you, colleagues, and good morning to everybody in Amman. I wish I could be there with you, but it's such an honor for me to be able to participate and to be able to give a bit of an outside-in perspective. All of you are in Yemen or working on Yemen from within the region. And I was hoping to be able to give you some of the perspectives that we're seeing about the Nexus in general. Now, of course, as you can hear from my job title and my experience, I'm a big fan of the Nexus. But I also understand that the term Nexus can also be polarizing. So sometimes it's important for us to bring it down to what it actually means. And we're talking essentially about 3 C words. And the 3 C words are cooperation, collaboration, and coherence. And some of these have been mentioned in these opening remarks over the last hour or so, where you realize that it doesn't have to be a brand, it doesn't have to be a noun, but it has to be an action of actually a verb of what we actually do. Now, that being said, it is an extremely challenging time. And I did appreciate that everybody spoke with quite positivity about how they were going to work differently. I recall our colleague from UN Women basically talking about how we should be able to plan and program for a positive future with the women-led type of programs. But the reality also is that since January in particular, we as the aid system are in crisis. And when that crisis is happening, it's not only on the humanitarian development or peace side, it is our Nexus approach as well that is not only in crisis, but what I was hoping to be able to convince you is that it is a real opportunity as well. To go back a little bit in history, of course, the Nexus approach really came out of the World Humanitarian Summit. And 2016 feels like a long time ago. Around that time, we were thinking that crises were more protracted, that we were not able to respond on the humanitarian side well enough, and that we needed the development actors and the peace actors to come and complement to resolve the situation as well. And what we realized then, and what we've been doing since then, is trying to implement the Nexus approach, but it's almost been a luxury where there is the time and the space and maybe some collective efforts we've been able to push forward on the Nexus. What we're seeing today is that the Nexus is a necessity. It's no longer an option. When you don't have the humanitarian funds, when you don't have the development funds to be able to do international action, you have to work with the local actors. And when you look at the local action that's taking place, they often don't make a distinction between what is humanitarian, what is development or peace. When you speak to these women-headed households, they're not going to only talk about the food and the shelter that they need, but they're going to talk about their development needs, about the need for security as well. They will talk 360 degrees of the HDP. And we as aid actors have to really provide that. And to have something like the Yemen Nexus Initiative and organizations such as ADO that are women-led is so vitally important. At this moment of time, many of you have heard that OCHA is going ahead with a real restructuring program, which they are calling the humanitarian reset. Now, the humanitarian reset has three big pillars. One, first of all, is the fact that they need to concentrate really on making sure that they are as life-saving as possible. So again, if you think about this, life-saving means that the humanitarians will become more humanitarian. That means that the development and the peace actors have to step up. The second one is that they have to become more efficient, that where there is duplications, either in mandates or in response, that has to be made more efficient. And the third one, which is really something that should concern all of you in the room as being an opportunity, is the need to localize more. And what better example of that than the Yemen Nexus Initiative? And when we talk about localization, it's not only about the local CSOs, but it's also realistically about talking with local authorities. And this is where we have to come to the realization that there will be places and times where we have to be uncomfortable. It'll be uncomfortable when we speak to the Sana'a authorities. It'll be uncomfortable when we speak to the Aden authorities. It may be comfortable when we speak with the traditional donors as opposed to the non-traditional donors. What we can say with a UAE or a Qatar or a Saudi Arabia is going to be different from what we can say to Márssélà or to the EU. It's going to be different from what we can say to the US today, for example. And this real change, it's almost like a natural disaster. It's a typhoon or a cyclone where we don't know what to say or what to do because our money is tight, our objectives and our humanitarianism inside of us is still strong, but how we respond has become so much more difficult. At this moment of time, what I wanted to try to encourage you to do is to think about all of this in terms of behavioral change. So when we talk about the nexus, it's not about writing the word nexus in your proposals. It's about what are your behavioral changes that you're going to do? Are you going to interact more with the development actors as a humanitarian? Are you going to make sure that peace is in the background of everything that you do? Are you going to make sure that you make that calculation as an international organization or as an international NGO, could my work be done better by a local organization? Where can I delegate more? And how can I do it safely in such a way that is actually as impactful as possible? So trying to focus on these C words of collaboration, cooperation, coherence is really one of the biggest things that I wanted to try to press upon you as much as possible. With that being said, as the Nexus Academy, many of you have taken the course or have known the course, and I would encourage you to take the course as well that we have online. But also, try to take the inspiration from the people that I can see in the room that I recognize from before. Wafa, who kindly intervened and allowed me to be here. Dr. Aisha, thank you so much. We spoke in Kuwait earlier this year. Iman, I was there with Stephanie in Kuwait as well, and she was wonderful. And Marcella, of course, you've been an inspiration from my end for a long time, and the support of the German government has been so, so important. Sorry for making this slightly longer than needed, and I know that it's a long day ahead in terms of charting out where Yemen needs to go next. And a lot of questions will also arise in terms of how many of us are going to be around for the next 5 years of this Yemen Nexus initiative. The aid landscape is changing so much between in these last 4 or 5 months alone. How it's going to change, we don't know. But the one thing that we do know for certain is that the local actors will be there. And so for us to be able to rely on these partners that have brought us together in this wonderful website, actually, that gives credit to each and every one of these organizations, how can we support this more? And how can I take this from the Nexus Academy side and propagate this and use this as a good example elsewhere as well? With that, Mais, thank you. And the floor is back to you. Thank you.
You should just give me a second. Yeah, it's back now. Thank you very much for your contribution. And with that, with this change in the context, I will hand it to our dear colleague Marcella with a question. Do you think Yemen is ready for HTTP Nexus? If you answer yes, can you say why? And you have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, and I will try to keep the 5 minutes. As always, I'm talking too much.
Yes.
Definitely, yes. I mean, we see it now in the room here, how many local NGOs are here, how many local Yemenis are ready to do it, and trying to do it since years already. And we are still looking at how to connect it. This is the huge challenge that we have, to connect the local partners with our international engagement and go together. Go together is the aim of all what we are doing in Yemen. And like Romano said, thank you very much, Romano, for your words, collaboration, coordination, coherence. How can we plan a project in humanitarian without thinking about additional development recovery to make it sustainable? And on top of this, working on peace building and peace completely separate from both fields. How is this possible? How can we achieve something in the country like Yemen if we go in silos all the time? We put one project in humanitarian, and then we think we have a very good project in development on the other side of the country, and we are very proud that we implemented such a project. Where is the impact? Where is the result of this project? It's like such a drop of the water of the hot stone, what we are saying in German, sorry for this, for this word. So this is not the way how we can go, and it is not about Yemen. This is the reason why the international community is talking since 10 years already about the coordination. But the coordination, I think there is no other word than coordination that I have been using for more than 4.5 years in my work in Yemen. Nothing more complicated than this. You can just look at your own household. How is your coordination working in your home, in your family? Is it working well? And then we're going up, we're going higher on the higher level with more actors. When we look just on what Germany is doing in Yemen as the biggest development donor for many, many years, you would be very surprised how many organizations are implementing our projects that you don't know that it is Germany. How can we coordinate inside the German portfolio? And then there are many other portfolios that also have to be coordinated. And how can you coordinate something that is already decided? If you coordinate projects that are already agreed, that the money is already ongoing, what do you want to coordinate? It's the cluster coordinating something that is ongoing. It's in the humanitarian. It's very important. But how can you coordinate something that you haven't influenced from the very, very beginning? And the very beginning is the strategic level with the donors. When they plan their budget in humanitarian development and peace building together, and it has to be thought together, then it is necessary to look where are the gaps that have to be filled, where are the synergies that we can create, because if we go with humanitarian, very much focused on humanitarian, we will go back, like Shohra said, back to the situation that we had in 2021 when we started to push for Nexus that much. So we will go back to complete dependence on humanitarian aid, which can't be the solution for the country like Yemen, where there is a huge opportunity for economy. You have sectors, and I'm not talking about oil, you have sectors where you can work on and to increase the economy, to empower the people to be able to decide by themselves and not being dependent every day on the humanitarian aid. But it has to go together. So this is definitely a task. It's 5 minutes already, I'm sorry.
Like, wrap it up.
Okay. Well, I could talk longer, I'm sorry for this. Where we have to work together from the very, very beginning, and this is what I always ask our local partners to talk to the donors. You are afraid to talk about challenges and obstacles that you would lose the money for the projects. That can't be the way for our planning. We have to know everything what is on the ground. We have to know the challenges. We have to know the opportunities. We have to plan strategically in a better way, together with the resident coordinator who is in the leading role for coordination of all the engagement on humanitarian development and peace building. Very happy to talk about it later. I'm sorry for, for being so long.
Thank you very much. With this sense of togetherness and coordination and the need for coordination, our next question is addressed to our dear colleague online, Mr. Lوريك. The question to you is, how can localization be strengthened throughout the HDP Nexus approach?
Good morning, dear colleagues. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes.
Especially, that's good. It's a great pleasure to be with you today. And as Romano said, apologies for being able to be there in person. But as you know, the meetings in Yemen are great. Are big, so we strive to use every second of our time to be here in the country and try to address those. And congratulations on this important conference. Wishing you very successful 2 days ahead. The question is very pertinent, and in this context, maybe I would share a very quick story. When I was in the Sheikh Ottoman market in Holland last month, I met a very young woman business administration graduate from the university in Amman, who is now co-managing a small microgrid of solar panels that is used for the stalls, refrigerating medicines, fabrics, reknitting fabrics, and other businesses of her neighborhood. So when I asked her, what was your initial feeling when you established the project? And she said, when we first turned on the lights, when everything was finished, people stayed, started talking, started trading, and started trusting each other. So I think these words, I was just going back through my notes, to capture the very heart of the gathering today. Because I think localized development does more than build things. It builds cohesion and ultimately may build peace. We are conscious of the fact that we are in the 10th year of the crisis, 19.5 million people still needing humanitarian assistance, HNRP funded on 90%, and 1 in every 2 children under 5 malnourished, 1.4 million pregnant and lactating women in the same perilous state, acute malnutrition over 33% in Hadeda. But these are some terrible, catastrophic numbers. However, I don't think these do define Yemen, because this cross-pillar collaboration that we are talking here, particularly in the area-based level, in the local level, is now becoming not just an aspirational model, but it's becoming an operational imperative. And when I say operational imperative, I mean that humanitarian and development actors, we need to come together and we need to work hand in hand. Development actors should focus their work where there is the gravest, the most needed humanitarian need, so that we can build on what the Saving Lives is doing. Invest further into making that a sustainable, resilient society, so that it comes out of the humanitarian need and becomes self-sustainable. Because humanitarian aid can keep people alive, and is very much needed, especially in some of the areas that we have visited in Yemen. But we always say that our development work, our development world, the development work keeps hope alive. Either through creating shared economic opportunity, rooted in social trust, social cohesion through local dialogue, or strengthening fair and inclusive institutions. And by saying institutions, I mean local institutions as well. We're building on inclusive access to justice, building on strengthening of the social services. These are things that we need to focus on. So again, and this is something that I have to stress. Development, gender equality, women empowerment, youth empowerment, climate resilience, and security. This convergence should not be ignored, must not be ignored, because if a women-empowered society means an advancement in society, means economically empowered society. And youth-led initiatives, we have seen how they can make a difference in different areas, ties, Aden, Marib, Lodge, even north in Sada and in Sana'a. Green investments do double duty. They protect livelihoods from any kind of natural disasters, floods, droughts, and also relieving tensions that can be exploited by warring sides. So to say what the Nexus demands of us, first is, I think, a predictable multi-year financing, because short annual grants just putting bits of little pieces here and there cannot put a fabric that was stored for over a decade. We need compact, we need flexible envelopes that allow humanitarian actors to hand the baton smoothly to the development teams, but without a funding cliff in between. And this is, I think, where the convergence lies in. Amiable conflict-sensitive design. I don't know, whether it's in Mayan IDP settlement, in Kalas port, here in Aden, some other areas. All these packages must have a layer of relief, jobs, and dialogue in the same geography that are guided by a common analysis of risk, which is absolutely important.
With this, may I stop you? My sincere apologies, because we have the other speakers.
Well, I was about to come to the most important point, but nevertheless.
Like, we have 1 minute to wrap it up. Go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to mention also the protection of civic space with UN staff remaining in detention today, and a reminder that development cannot advance where the civic actors are silenced, and we must have an unimpeded and development access at the center of the conversation with all parties. So, wrapping up, what is needed is to the donors unlocking the multi-year risk-tolerant funding from aid lines to production lines, to the government authorities and the de facto authorities to protect civic actors and improve quick impact development projects that move front lines into lifelines. Private sector and diaspora to invest in green infrastructure and social enterprises that hire youth before other recruiters do, and for all of us in the UN family to stay integrated and stay beside the people we serve, from the emergency tent to the town halls, because this is the only way how we can make a meaningful impact. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your contribution. And now we'll hand it over to Ms. Iman from ICVA. What are the current gaps in coordination among humanitarian and development and peace actors in Yemen? And from your experience, is HDB Nexus in Yemen different from other countries, and why? And apologies, you have 5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to be with you all today. Assalamu alaikum wa ahla wa sahla fikum fil Urdun. ICVA is a global NGO consortia, and we are privileged to have local NGOs in Yemen as ICVA members, as well as our INGO members as well. Of course, Yemen is a unique context, and I'm so proud to have to see the Yemen Nexus initiative, let's say, concluding the first phase, and looking forward to take this initiative up to scale, because this is a unique experience, demonstrating well how local actors, if they don't want to be led, then they have decided to lead in a very proactive manner, and then decided to come together in a very unified position to demonstrate and decide on what success looks like. And going back, Mais, to your question about coordination challenges, of course, coordination is very, very challenging in every context. So you can imagine if it's also in Yemen, with all the different challenges around funding, access, existing capacities, and all these dynamics between North and South. And let me start by saying that when we carried out ICVA Nexus research covering MENA, we found out that Yemen has a great potential. I would agree that, let's say, the potential demonstrated well regarding local actors' capacities, their awareness and understanding of the positive impact of having this integration among humanitarian development and peace components. Adding to that, also that local actors are operationalizing Nexus without labeling the word Nexus on every single initiative or a project. And this is essential recognition. And if I want to compare with other local actors, let's say across MENA, It's always difficult to start with realizing what is Nexus, because again, Nexus as a terminology is very complicated with these acronyms, technicalities, etc. Then you need to get the buy-in from local actors that the integration is necessarily, and then start engaging other international actors and start initiating then a dialogue with the officials from the government. In Yemen, it's a great foundation to start with because local actors have realized the importance of the integration. Adding to that very important point, which is about they have also realized that when we come together as local actors, we are stronger. And then we can reach out to different donors from key institutional donors, development actors, officials from the governments, and then we can, let's say, advocate for more flexible funding, multi-year fundings, and more functions and positions to support different initiatives such as the Nexus initiative. Also, I'd like to add that starting from the awareness and the potential capacity in Yemen, moving to the coordination challenges. Of course, coordination as a function has a price, has a cost. And before that, it requires a political will. Different organizations, no one disagree as different organizations that Nexus has great positive, long-lasting impact. But when it comes to the real coordination, and for you to devote time and efforts, staffing, then maybe different organization would disappear. And it becomes then theoretical concept, very, let's say, a nice concept, trending concept, but when it comes to the practical steps on the ground, there is not that much results and outcomes collectively different actors would achieve together. So definitely the political will from the different actors, different devoting resources to enhance the coordination among local actors, INGOs, UN agencies, and most importantly in this case, development actors. I'm afraid, and to be honest, in most of the cases whenever we speak about Nexus, I'm afraid that we keep moving around ourselves as humanitarian actors without systematic reaching out or systematic engagement with the development actors or the international financial institutions. It's very important also to systematically reaching out and engage with development donors, not to keep talking with ourselves in very isolated room with the humanitarian actors without systematic engagement with the development actors. Knowing what we all knowing that development donors and actors have different, let's say, system, policies, and different, let's say, results that they abide themselves to achieve. And sometimes it's different. It's like two parallel worlds. The humanitarian world separated from the development worlds.
Iman?
And I'll conclude by saying that it's very important also to learn from other contexts. So as ECFA, we have learned a lot from local actors in Lebanon, local Palestinian NGOs, and how they have managed to get certain development funding to focusing on early recovery and resilience plan. So this is also for them to learn from the local Yemeni actors on this initiative and how they also have this kind of wide local membership that focus on concrete objectives to be achieved in certain time-bound stage.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Iman. And now we'll hand it over to Mr. Yusuf Ahmed from CARE. The question to you is, why is it essential for addressing, is it essential to address the complex challenges in Yemen by Nexus?
Okay, thank you very much, and I will stick to 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Just let me give you briefing what I am doing what a project I have. I'm working as a country coordinator for the Dutch Relief Alliance Consortium in Yemen. We are working with 21 partners that include 13 local partners. I'm mentioning this because I will take it as an example and I will refer to what we are doing. And I think here the most word that was repeated from all the panelists and also from the participants was the coordination, which is really initial thing. It's really important to coordinate, and at the same time, it's really difficult to coordinate with the current system, with the current humanitarian system, if we want just to talk about Nexus and move to Nexus. What is really important to mention here, that it doesn't necessary to be Nexus as a word in our intervention. So what we are doing in the Dutch Relief Alliance, we give a flexibility to our partners. We give trust, we share risk, and we give a space to design what is needed in the ground. So if the need is humanitarian intervention, so let's do humanitarian intervention. If the need is like a development, so let's do a development. If the need is mix between development and humanitarian, let's do it. If there is a ground to do some peace interventions and work, so let us do it. I think the need for Nexus and to change the mentality of intervention, it's really important. And it's all about giving space for the local actors, giving flexibility, trusting our local partners to do what is needed. It's really important also to have data, information, real data that is coming from the ground about the need. And here I'm talking about a huge lack and gap of analysis and data. Is it because we are not doing enough like surveys, assessments, or is it because of the access and difficulties? This is something that we need to talk about. It's not, and then the question, like, it's not about is Yemen ready for Nexus, but are we ready for the coordination? This is really important. And then another point, I was talking with one of the big donor, and I discovered that the humanitarian department and the development department, they are not talking to each other. So no one knows like what other is doing. And they are doing the same, like they are doing intervention in the same country. And this is like a huge problem. And here, like, I think we are doing some good progress in terms of the coordination with the Dutch Relief Alliance, because they are giving space of coordinating, space of discussing, a space of like collaborating. This is really important. Then the other thing, we are facing a huge cut of funding. And here, I think we need to be more innovative in terms of our intervention. We need to do more with the less funding. And this is like almost impossible mission. Innovation is really important in this area, and it's really needed to be mentioned. Last point is sharing the risk. It's really important point here we need to talk. Moving from the way of our working to a different way, we will face a million challenge. We will face a lot of failures, and we need to accept this. We need to share the risk of that with the especially local partners, and not just transferring all the risk, all the challenges to the local partners. Thank you very
Amazing.
much.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, we'll hand it over to the amazing Dr. Amani Muhammad to reflect and share the lesson learned after completing the phase 1 toward application of HTTP Nexus in Yemen. The floor is all yours, and you have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mais. Thank you for all, and you are welcome. Actually, if I would like to share all lessons learned from the beginning to this moment, maybe we need more than 5 minutes. So I will focus to share the most important lesson learned, which is related. The first lesson learned that we get it from after 5 years is it's very important to start or let this initiative come from bottom. Actually, we always hear this sentence from many sources or read it in a paper, but after we complete phase 1, we found that it's very important to let this initiative come from down. This is because actually when give the lead and lead the initiative from down, the result is not about only the effectiveness, but also inclusive and sustainability, and also rooted to the local realities, and also in fragile setting. The HDB response impactful response are grounded in local leadership and cooperation. This is because of their connection with the communities and their holistic need. Even when the need rise from those local and national actors by interaction with all stakeholders at the ground, actually we will ensure that the impact will be to maximum, where this stakeholder, just those items who will be aware how they will address the challenges for this initiative there. Beside to that, if we talk about the other lesson learned, actually maybe about we need also to measure the impact of Nexus at Yemen systematically, because actually from 2021 to 2025 we don't have a system or programmatic system to collect and measure the impact from all actors, either international, UN, or NGOs or CSOs. So this is one from the item that we looking for, inshallah, in the second phase. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With this, we thank our esteemed panelists for such rich insights and reflection. And as Jean-Paul Ladrich, a pioneer in peace building, reminds us, the greatest resource for sustaining peace in the long term is always found in the local people and their capacities. Thank you very much. And with this, we conclude our session on the what and the why.